All right, so I think we are live. Yes, it looks like we are live, and I am so happy to be here. Finally, it is the Better Wise weekend, y'all. I hope y'all are ready for this. If y'all are hearing me, please let me know. I may be looking in different directions. That's because there's so many devices here, and I'm trying to really focus on just one, but I just can't because I need to see if you all are hearing me. Let me know on Facebook. Can you hear me? Just let me know so I can know whether I should continue talking. But this is Better Wise Weekend 2020 Night 1. So, woo! Yes, we are finally here. It's a moment that we all been waiting for. I know I've been so excited. Like I couldn't sleep. Y'all know this because the last time I came on, I was like, I can't sleep. I need y'all to be here with me and hear what I have to say concerning, the whole planning and preparation and why you should be a part of this. So, my name is Charmaine Wilson. I believe you can see my name on the screen, but for those of you who don't know me, I am the founder of My Own Husband. And I'm going to share a little, just a short little um, information about who we are, what we do, and why you should be a part of this, and why you should not miss out on this any longer. So we want to welcome you in. First of all, we know we have some people that are probably a little late tonight, and that's okay. Maybe you're putting the kids to bed, getting your hair done. I don't know, getting your water, your journal, and you just want to just relax. But just let me know in the comment section if you are hearing me. Send some hearts. I'm not sure if the comments are a little delayed. I haven't seen anything popped up yet, but there are like 24 of you on, and I am so excited. I mean, our registration went through the roof today, and I was like, what's going on? Everyone waited until the last minute, and that's okay. As long as you got in, as long as you registered. And there are people that message me and they were like, Charmaine, why do we have to register if it's going to be on Facebook Live? But that's just the thing. There's a surprise wrapped up in all of that. And I want you to be a part of it. And sometimes we can't tell you everything up front. We just need you to kind of like follow the instructions, and then you will see where we're going with it. But for those of you that did it, it's like, I think over 70 people registered. And yeah, we shoot it from 30 something straight over to 70 something. And I think just before 7 o'clock, the numbers went up again. So I am excited about this. That's simply because over 70 people are going to experience something special that we have just for you who took the time out to register. So we are like how many minutes in now? We're like 10 to 15 minutes in. And I just want to welcome you. If you're just tuning in, thank you for being here. We are kicking off officially Better Wise Weekend. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Everything is in the caption. Better Wise Weekend. We are here as a community of wise, to wise, for the wise, and we want to inspire. We want to help you grow. We want to connect with you. We simply want to create that global community of wise that are filled with purpose and impact and empowerment, not just for the world and their friends, your external world, but also beginning first in your marriage, right? There are many women that I know, they are powerful, they are dynamic women, and all that is good, but sometimes, not all of the times, they are struggling or suffering in marriage, and we are not okay with that anymore. If you're going to be great on the outside, we need you to be great at home, because it's at home is where you get the encouragement. At home is where you have to get the empowerment and the motivation to want to be great and better. That's right, better. So just put that in the comments below. Better, put hashtag better, and most importantly, tonight I want to see those hashtags: Better Wise Weekend 2020, also Wise Go Live, Wise Go Live. So hashtag those two hashtags for me, just so I can feel the energy and know that you are with me. I want to see some hearts. I want to just let me know that you are here and this is for real. Another great thing about the registration process that we had is that we wanted you to take some pride in what we're doing as well. And also for us, even though we're doing this on Facebook Live, right? We still want us to feel as if it's an official event. And actually it is, but we are not touching each other, we are not socializing, all of that good stuff for now. And like I said in a previous slide, I don't know if the Lord whispered that in my ear, but it's like, Charmaine, he didn't want me to do any physical or local event. I just felt strongly to when I prayed and I said, what, God, what should I do next? And he was like, I just do a Facebook Live and just have different women come on. I was like, I like that. So like my son says, he's 4 years old. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And I'm like, yes, okay, let's go down that road. And listen, it's been not smooth, but it has been impactful and rewarding, the journey to bring us to this. So, like I said, if you can hear me, go ahead, send me some hearts. If you can share this with your network, please do so. I know sometimes on Facebook, when the live is active and you share it, it creates a party somewhere, or a Facebook party or a live party. I don't know if that's what you want to do. If not, I would love for everyone to join us here in this live so we can see exactly who's on and also have everyone engaged centrally. So that would be good. You can probably just copy the link of this live and then paste it in your post, and then the actual live will show up. So people that are on via your Facebook page, they will actually be on this active live. So we appreciate you being here. I don't want to prolong this, but just in case you are also very new to this page and this platform, or even what we are doing, I also want to let you know that we are not just on Facebook. We also have an extended family on IG, on Instagram. You can look us up, follow us on My Own Husband Movement. We are doing good over there as well. So for those of you that are our IG followers and you came over on Facebook, welcome, 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 welcome. Give them some hearts. Yes, and we are happy to have you. We are also on YouTube at My Own Husband as well. And on YouTube is where we share an extended version of what we do as well to spread this message of good and healthy marriages and real marriages, and that is called Mo Stories, and that stands for My Own Husband Stories. You can also email us if you would like to partner with us. You would like to have me speak at any of your events. You want to donate, you want to sponsor anything, I mean, hey, we'll take it. We don't mind. We love partnerships, and also how we can also have you partner with us, come and join us and help us build the same goal. So that's that. You can reach us on my own husband at gmail.com. Okay, we'll send all of those informations information in the link below, so just look out for that. Yes, we are on, and this is for real, and I want you to share this, copy the link, share it on your wall, and let people come in. And also what you can do is just simply tag your friends right here in the comment section. If they're late, let them know they need to come in now, because at 8:30 sharp, our first speaker, oh my gosh, I can't wait for you to hear her. Her name is Francesca Lestrade, and she is going to be on she'll be streaming from the UK. So I think it's like midnight, somewhere around there right now. So if she can be on and she's been all pumped and hyped about this, then I don't think we have an excuse, because in St. Martin, in the US, we should be somewhere around like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. So you all should not have an excuse to be on here. We promise we won't keep you on too long tonight, but we definitely want to take the time out to answer your questions as well. So please stay tuned, right? So that's that. And just to wrap it up, I could already hear that some people are wondering, okay, we understand what the whole My Own Husband is all about. It's a movement. It's, who it's for, what we do. However, you're trying to figure out why My Own Husband. What is behind this whole My Own Husband name? Well, have you ever heard of this scripture in the Bible that says that women or wives are to submit to their own husbands as unto the Lord? Have you ever heard that scripture? If you have, or maybe you probably just heard people say it before and never knew that it was in the Bible. But basically, the name was inspired by that verse. Not just because, I just wanted a name, but really and truly, in helping us to become better wives, it's also helping us to become better wives for our own husbands, in helping us to become a better friend, a better lover, building a better self-image. Primarily, it's for the benefit of our own selves. But listen to this, right? If you are a better person, then by extension, your family, your friends, and also your own husband is going to experience just that. I mean, Yeah, I wouldn't want to know that, you know what, people are experiencing a better Charmaine Wilson in the workplace, in the marketplace, but at home, I'm a snob, I'm irritable, my husband can't say nothing to me, but everybody else out there sees me as such a great inspiration and motivation. It just doesn't click. And I don't want that for us. I want that even our husbands can experience more and beyond than what other people know and experience about us. I love when people underestimate me. It doesn't bother me. Why? Because I know that at home my husband sees the real me. He sees the true me. He sees the depth that I can provide. He sees the insights. He benefits from that. So sometimes you walk into a room and people are like, yeah, I don't know how she doesn't have a doctor behind her name, or she doesn't have this behind her name, or she doesn't have this amount of money, or whatever. And you're like, okay, yeah, all right. You can keep watching, or you can keep thinking that I'm nothing. That's fine. I'm not bothered by that. But when it comes to my family or my husband and our business and what we're doing, we know what we're doing. We know what we're bringing to the table. So you don't have to feel intimidated. You don't have to be in competition with anybody. Once you know who you are and how you see yourself and how your self image is intact, and you also have the right channels and areas in your marriage where that can be executed, then listen, you're onto something. So this is the platform and this is the place we want people like you to be at, because it doesn't mean that we have it all together, but there's some areas that we really need to address and fix. So if you are here, thank you for joining us, all 50 of you. I cannot wait for us to get going and move on. If you can't wait either, please send some hearts. Please send some hearts. And like I said, for those of you that registered, there are surprises attached to this. There are a lot of benefits attached to this. The registration allows us to also connect with you even beyond Facebook Messenger, or sorry, not Facebook Messenger, the Facebook platform itself. I want to know that even if Facebook crashes, that I can still connect with you. Yes, we are in this for the long haul. We are not in this just, for the likes or the loves or the shares. No, I want to know that if I wake up tomorrow morning, that, okay, Facebook crashed. No problem. I need to touch base with the wives and I need to send them an email. So all of this is a part of the future that we have planned for us as women, as wives, and I can't wait to journey with you along this path. But look out for emails to come. Look out for that surprise that I'm talking about for those of you that did listen and registered. And even those of you that didn't register, eventually we are going to create something where you all can be a part of this. But for now, I want to really honor those that took the time out to do so and make them feel special. Also, there are two persons within the registration list that's going to benefit from something even more, a gift, a personal gift. I want to sow a seed into two women, but you have to be here every night to know exactly how that's going to go and how we're going to go about that. So that's a lot of information, and I think I need to get out of the way because Francesca Lestrade is on, and yes, she is here. Hey, let me just okay. I'm waiting for my team to just tell me good. I think you should be on coming in. Yeah. Hey, Francesca, can you hear me? Yes.
Hello, I can hear you. Yes,
Ooh, good. How
I
are
can hear
you?
you. I am fantastic. I'm really good. I'm surprised at how awake I am considering what time it is. It's now 22 past midnight here. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing
Yeah.
pretty good.
Listen, I couldn't wait to have you on with us tonight. I was telling the wives that are on that it should be after midnight or something like that in the
Yeah,
UK. So for
yeah.
you, I know it's pretty late, but even that I admired so much about, your yes when I reached out to you and you were like,
Mm,
"Hey, that's perfect time actually because the kids will be put to bed by then." So I was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, on the page, I think 2 days ago and also today, I posted a little bio, your bio actually. And I don't know if you just want to just say something very briefly in 30 seconds and just let us know who you are again.
Sure.
And yeah, so
Yeah.
everybody's up to speed.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so guys, as Charmin said, my name is Francesca Lestrade. I am from St. Martin. I'm originally from St. Martin, but I live here in the UK. I've been here in the UK for about 14 years, I want to say. I'm starting to lose track. Been here for so long. So I've lived in the UK for about 14 years. So you guys might think, oh, I know this girl, I know she face, or whatever it is. So my maiden name is Vanterpool, Francesca Vanterpool, and married Lestrade. And as I said, I'm from St. Martin. So I've been in the UK 14 years. I'm married to a wonderful, wonderful, and very handsome man, might I add, Kevin Lestrade. And we have two beautiful daughters, Kira and Mackenzie. We're expecting our third child in August 2020.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm officially 20 weeks, so officially at the halfway point. And yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. I run a music school and music consultancy called Kima, where I try and help people and young people understand the fits of music education for growth and development. And I've done lots of many things. I wear a million hats sometimes.
So
So
listen,
that's me in a nutshell.
yeah, that's a whole lot of you. But
Yes.
when I reached out to you and spoke to you about the topic self-image, what was the first thing that actually like came to your mind? How did you feel about that?
The first thing that came to my mind was was okay. This is me. This is me because of my own experience. Let's call it. I was gonna call it battles, but rather
Mhm.
experience with the whole topic of self-image
Okay.
and with the whole concept of image. So I felt like okay, I already started getting ideas of things that I could talk about. I was excited about it because it's a topic that, as I said, I'm familiar with
Mhm.
in the sense of I've experienced stuff
Yeah.
when it comes to self-image, and I hope to share some of that tonight.
Yeah, and we want to hear about that, but also very much how it affected you.
Yeah,
Did you go into the marriage with that being still a problem, and also how it affected you and your marriage, but also what could have been done or the areas that you were lacking in primarily before
right,
you enter
right.
marriage.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we want to touch on because
Hmm.
too many times, for example, in my inbox, some people would say, "Why did you choose these topics?" But a lot of the questions that I get in my inbox, and mind you, we are not experts at this. I just want to re-emphasize
Yeah.
this. We are not experts in this, but we do want to share our experience and
Right.
to help others as we have been helped, right? Because we are a community. But um, I lost my thought, but oh yeah. So women usually would say to me like, you know what, the marriage is a mess, the man is a mess, But when you do identify some of the problems that they have, um, they never, some would never say, you know what, these are some contributing factors that I brought into the marriage.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so everybody just puts this negative stigma on marriage as if marriage did them something. And I always tell
Mm.
people that marriage is perfect. Like when God created
Mm.
it was perfect. It was well
That's
done.
right.
We are the ones that come in with our probably jacked up, jacked
Yeah.
up,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
prideful, stubborn selves. And then we expect that this other person is just going to tolerate it all the time and vice
Right.
versa. And then, yeah, and then, or we just keep it all in on the inside, and then one day just blows up, and then boop, divorce papers.
Well, it's understanding that marriage is, when we talk about the two become one, it's two whole people.
Right.
That's all your baggage as well.
That
Two
too.
whole people come into the marriage, and
Right.
we have to, that this is where the continuous working out of the relationship goes, the
Mm-hmm.
continuous perfecting of the relationship, because it's two whole people coming together that have their own stuff,
Yes.
and that includes all the good stuff and all the bad stuff
I
coming
mean,
into one.
you're right on target. I always say that, the good and the
Mm,
bad. But we have
yeah.
to be willing to go all the way, even with the bad,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Of
Yes.
course, there are some bad that they're non-negotiable, abuse and all that stuff, and that's probably for another live or another session, workshop. But in terms of our baggages from childhood up, that we really need to address. This is the start that we want to have, and the
Mm-hmm.
real conversations that we want to start to have, and even lessons that we want to learn. So I am
Right.
not going to take up any more of this. I am thankful for those that just came in. Thank you all. Stay with us. Francesca, you have the floor. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, great stuff. Thank you. So, as you guys have heard, if you're just joining us tonight, my name is Francesca Lestrade, and I'm really, really excited about being here tonight. If you see me looking over this way a little bit, I'm looking at your comments. Once I get into my talk, I'll just be focusing on what I'm saying, and then, as Charmin said at the end, I am happy to take any questions that you may have. So, if you've got any questions, anything that I am going to say throughout the period of my talk, just please, hold your questions till the end, make a note of them, and I'll try and get to as many questions as I can. It's really, really great to see so many people on right now. I don't know how many are on. I think it's a bit slow for me on this part, but we've got just under about 48, 49 people joining us tonight. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited to be a part of this. I want to first thank Charmaine Wilson for inviting me to be a part of this event, and for reaching out to me in the first place. Okay, I've known Charmaine for a very, very long time. We went to school together. We're part of a group Beyond Friendship together. There's some old Beyond Friendship members on here.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot together in our lives, and I know her family quite well. She knows my family quite well, and so I was really honored that she would reach out to me and would see it fit for me to share and to be a part of this event and to share with you all. Just to remind you, and I'm sure she's going to mention this at the end, but we do want people to be a part of all the nights. So every night we're going to have some really interesting and important topics from some amazing women sharing. So tonight I'm going to be sharing on a better self-image, what that means. Tomorrow night we're going to have Charity sharing on being a better friend, and the last night we're going to have Audra sharing and being a better lover. And I'm just excited about all these topics because I feel like it's something that the topics that aren't necessarily addressed, that we're afraid to talk about, and that we don't consider in our relationships. So what Charmin and I were just saying just now is really important in that we go into relationships, into our marriages, and it's in any situation, any relationship, in any situation, one of the things that we are very good at as people, as human beings, is not accepting responsibility, not wanting to take responsibility for what's going on for us and what we have put into that relationship, what we've put into that marriage, how we've contributed to where we are. And so I think these topics are very important because it helps us, it causes us to have to look at ourselves, to have to look inwards. And that's what's really important as wives here. We want to do that. So I'm just going to go straight in. As I said to you guys before, I have my own business that I run. On top of that, I work with a life coach here in the UK that helps to support women through an online academy. And I've worn many, many hats and have many positions, as I said, in my adult life here in the UK. I've had many jobs ranging from, business development, marketing, project management, customer relations, event management, so much more, so much other stuff that I've done. I've worked with young people, and I have this growing passion, this immense passion for motivating encouraging and helping people, okay? And in particular, women, young women, and helping them and encouraging them to be, the who they can be, the best version of themselves. And that passion grew from my time in my the coaching academy that I'm a part of, and it grew from my love for young people. And I realized that I have this growing passion for young women, right? And making sure that we look at ourselves and we perceive ourselves in a great way. So having this topic is really interesting. But with all of this that I'm doing, with everything that I am, everything that I've done, one of the things that a lot of people don't know about me, and probably only those that are really close to me know this. And when I say really close, I'm probably talking about my brothers, my mom, my dad, my parents, and my husband, and my best friend are probably the only people that know this about me. But I have struggled for a very long time, or I had struggled with a very low perception of myself. Okay, for I mean, this is since teenage years or whatever, and I think we've all gone through this. But this very low self-image, the way I looked at myself, the way I loved myself, the confidence that I had. And as I grew up and as I went through different things in life, that only became more and more, what's the word? It only become more and more tarnished. So how I saw myself only become more and more tarnished. And what I realized is people didn't know this because I became really good at operating under pretense. Now, what I'm saying here is important for what I'm going to say later on. So I want us to pay attention here. I operated a lot under pretense. The world only saw the mask that I wore. And it meant that when you wear a mask and you pretend to be something else that you're not, you end up being lots of different people everywhere. Okay, so you're one way with your spouse, you're one way with your friends, you're one way with your family, you're one way with your colleagues, and then you're a completely different way with yourself. And that's the part that I really, really want to touch on this evening, is how you're being with yourself, so your better self-image. Okay. I had lost my sense of confidence, sense of power, my self-worth. And this is why I feel like there's no coincidence that I have been given the topic of better self-image. In fact, I have dealt with this so much in my life, I feel somewhat qualified to at least have a conversation with you about it. Okay, so let's go right in. Let's go right in. As of now, I can't see. Let me see where you guys are at. I'm just gonna have a quick look at your comment here. Yes, Beyond Friendship Crew. Okay, let's go. Let's get right into it. Wonderful. Okay, so the first thing with anything that we look at is important to understand what we're talking about. So first thing I want to look at is what is self-image. Okay, so I'm going to look at what is self-image. And then from there, we're going to go into why is how we see ourselves important. What does self-image mean for our relationships, and how do we develop better self-image? So that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Okay. So what is self-image? When we look at the word self-image, we separate the word. We look at the word separately. A self is a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others, especially considered as the object or introspection or reflective action. So a person's essential being that distinguishes them from others. So basically yourself is who makes you you, okay? Your image, the word image, is a representation of the external form of a person. It's the general impression that a person presents to the public, a person, an organization, a product, but in this case, we're talking about a person. So it's the general impression or representation that a person shows to the public. Okay. And so your self-image is your essential representation or impression to others and to yourself. Okay. When we look at Google, you can do a quick Google search on these definitions. The Google defines image as the idea one has of one's abilities, appearance, and personality. And going a bit deeper, positivepsychology.com defines self-image as how you perceive yourself. Okay, it is the number of self-expressions that have built up over time. And these self-images can be very positive, giving a person's confidence in their thoughts or actions, or negative, making a person doubtful of their own capabilities and ideas. So, in a nutshell, your self-image is how you perceive yourself. And go on into this conversation, I want us to have a very honest conversation with ourselves about how we see ourselves. What is our self-image? Another simpler way of using the word image is a picture. And so I want us to consider the image we show the world and the image that we have of ourselves. Because what I want us to consider is that that image is different. It's two different images. What we portray to the world, what we portray to our spouses, what we portray to people out there is different to what we portray to ourselves. And what I want to challenge us with is how we portray ourselves to ourselves will determine how we portray ourselves to other people, the image, the picture that we give to other people. Okay, so why is how I see myself important? What's the big deal about a better self-image? Why is that such an important thing? The first thing is it determines how you treat yourself. I've said this many a times. The relationship that you have with yourself is the most important. I mentioned something to Charmaine in the introduction there about the two becoming one, and it's two whole people. How you see yourself as a whole is extremely, extremely important for any relationships that you have. And we're going to talk about even the relationship that you have with God, if you have a relationship with God. It's important. How you see yourself is so important. I can't stress this enough. And again, because I've gone through my own things and I hope to share some stuff with you. So what I want you to ask yourself, these are some of the questions I want you to ask yourself in terms of how you treat yourself. Now, let me make something clear. I think a lot of the times when we think about how we treat ourselves, we think about if our hair is done, if our makeup is on point, if our clothes look nice, have we had a pedicure?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And we look at that as how you treat yourself. Now, let me just say this. Those are important ways of treating yourself. And we're actually going to see those on the subject of how do you have better self-image. I'm actually going to mention that a bit. So there's nothing wrong with doing those things. But right now, I want us to consider how we treat ourselves, really. Not what we look like and not what we present to the world, not the mask that we wear, not how well do we decorate our mask, but how well do we take care of ourselves. So these are some questions for us to think about. You can write these down, so you can just think about it now. I would suggest writing it down so that you can have some time to think about it later. What are the words that you are speaking to yourself on a daily basis? I'm talking about the things that you don't tell people. Okay? I used to I'm going to be a bit honest here. My mom is online. I'm sure my dad is watching as well. And I know my mom and I are really close. We speak about a lot of things, but I gotta tell her all the time, So I'm gonna be very open about certain things here. And I feel that being open is important because, sometimes, just a bit side note, people sometimes go through things, and because we're afraid of talking about it, there's no help for certain people. And if you've gone through something and you're working your way through it, or you've come through it, speak about it, because you're going to help someone with it. Okay? And the whole idea of self-image and this whole topic of self, whether it's self-love, self-image, self-worth, is something that is, in one hand, glamorized as, if you don't look nice physically, you're not looking after yourself. The topic of how you look after yourself internally is very rarely addressed. Very rarely addressed. And so what we have is a lot of people, a lot of women that look nice outside, but inside, when they go into their homes and they close their doors and they close their bedrooms, they're self-harming. They are speaking negatively over themselves. And this is Christian women and non-Christian women alike. And I'm telling you, because for someone that grew up in church, that was a worship leader, that was on the dance team, these are things that I dealt with. And because of my poor self-image, I had to deal with self-harm. Okay? And that is something that we do not speak nearly enough about. So what are the words that I'm speaking to myself on a daily basis? I literally used to stand in front of a mirror and tell myself I was ugly, that I was stupid, that I wasn't worth anything, that I would speak those words to myself. Some people are at the point where they can speak those words to themselves in a mirror, and some people are at the point where they're saying those things in their minds. You're repeating those things all the time in your mind. But you portray yourself as this confident person. I've got a nice voice. I can do this. I can do that. But what are you really saying to yourself on a daily basis? What are you speaking over your life on a daily basis? Another important aspect of how you treat yourself or how you see yourself is, what foods are you consuming? How are you treating your body? How are you treating your temple? I am not an expert on this. Okay, and this question is just as much for me as it is for you guys. But what are you consuming, as in physical food that you're eating? Are you honoring your temple? Are you honoring your body? Are you loving yourself enough to want to have longevity of life? Because what we don't realize is, when we have poor self-image, we are destructive and we have destructive tendencies. So we eat bad and we don't drink enough water and we don't do, that's destructive tendencies. Okay. Let's look deeper in terms of how you're consuming. Let's look at consummation on a more mental and spiritual level. What do you allow to be your source of inspiration? What is your source of inspiration on a daily basis? Who are you listening to? What TV are you watching? This is all very important. What are you filling your mind with every day? These are the questions that you have to ask yourself when you think about, how do I treat myself? What is my self-image like? We have to be willing to take a stop check on where we are. Okay? We have become more concerned with what we look like on the outside and less concerned about who we really are on the inside. And until we are willing to first look at who we really are, how we're really being, change cannot come. We have to be willing to see the ugly truth. And there is nothing wrong with being willing to see that. Once you've done that, you can take the next step. So those are some of the questions I want us to consider. What are you speaking to yourself daily? What are you consuming? Both physical food, spiritual food, mental food, your inspirations, your source of inspiration. Who do you speak to about your problems? Who do you go to? All of this matters. All of this matters. One of the things I learned being married is I don't speak to every Tom, Dick, and Harry about my problems in my marriage. I don't. I really, really don't. I am very, very selective and very careful about who I go to with any problems in my marriage, right? And all of those things, whether we believe it or not, and we're going to see how self-image affects our relationship, all of those things are a factor in how we see ourselves, because it affects our relationships. But I'm going ahead of myself here. Okay, why is how I see myself important? The next point is because it tells people how to treat you. How you see yourself tells people how to treat you. Do we understand this? How we see ourselves will tell people how to treat us. This is something that I learned. If I walk into a room, right? When I walk into a room, no one has any judgment or any concept of me. They don't know who I am. I've come onto this live. Some of you have seen me for the first time. You don't know who I am. If I hadn't said to you that I had self-image issues, you might think, oh, she's such a confident person, right? But we tell people who we are by how we show up. And how we show up is determined by how we view ourselves. Again, I'm not talking about the covering, because there's two things that can happen. If you have poor self-image, you can either express that in a very in a way where it's, you're down, you walk into a room, you're timid, you're afraid, you don't want to. It can be expressed in that way, but it could also be expressed in overcompensating, too much, if that makes sense. You walk into a room and it's just like, ugh, whatever. I don't know how to act like that. Sorry. Do you know what I mean? You overcompensate for who you really are. And where we need to get to is where we can walk to a room and be fully ourselves. Be bold, confident, know who you are. And we're going to go through that a bit later. So people can't tell you who you are. We tell people who we are by how we show up. Nobody can tell you who you are. They can only see what you show them. One of the things I remember I always get really nervous when I start a new job. And the last job I had was in a doctor's office, and I said I was doing admin. I just wanted a quick admin role. And I was like, right, I'm gonna go into this role. This is my new chance, new beginning. No one knows me. I'm gonna walk into that place feeling confident and ready to go. And I went into the workplace, and I was just shy, nervous, quiet. And that was Francesca the whole time I worked there. Francesca was a shy, quiet, nervous one the whole time I was there. It was so funny. But every time you step into a new room, consider that you have a chance to show up and be really who you are, right? So the way we are or how people treat us is based on what we allow and how we show ourselves. The last thing is something that I learned in my in the coaching academy that I'm a part of. I learned this, and we spoke about this recently, and I just wanted to share this very, very quickly. How we see ourselves is important because it tells life how to show up for us. Let me explain. Life has a way of honoring who we are and what we say. Okay? What do I mean by that? If your image of yourself is people don't really like me, always last, people don't consider me. If that's how you see yourself, I promise you, and I want you to look at your life before you agree with me, that life has given you opportunity for that to be manifested. What does that mean? Is that you're going to go to a meeting and no one's going to say hello to you. No one's going to come up to you and shake your hand because you've gone in there with the energy, with the concept of, why, when I go to these places, I know this is what I did. I would always be like, oh, I'm afraid to go to this networking event because if I go to this event, then, no one's going to talk to me. I don't know what to say. I don't know. Sure enough, I'm going to go to that networking event and don't know what to say, and no one will come and talk to me. And I'll just be stood there in the corner with my that's what's going to happen. Life has a way of honoring what we say and who we are. So why is it important to see ourselves in a better light, to have better self-image, so that life shows up for you, so that people know how to treat you, and so that you know how to treat yourself. And that's with love and care. Okay. All right. There we go. So I'm just having a quick look at the comments here. I'm just wanting to make sure. Remember, if you've got any questions, just write them down and give it to me at the end. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay, let's go on to the next part. Let's go on to the next part. Awesome. So what does a better self-image mean for my relationships? So the whole point about this is being Better Wives. It's Better Wives Weekend, and we want to look at relationships. One of the things that I said in the beginning is we spoke very heavily on the relationship with ourselves and why the relationship with ourselves is important. Okay, I mentioned to you guys, how we see ourselves determine how we treat ourselves. And so what does better self-image mean for my relationship with myself? As I said before, it means that we can treat ourselves better. Okay, it means that we can speak to ourselves better. I mean, I need us, and one of the things with any of these sort of events and topics and things that we talk about, being honest with where you are is key. Please don't pretend that you have it all together. Please don't pretend that you don't. And I get it. I get it. We all have that sometimes. We all have a negative self-thought. And I'm not necessarily talking about that, but I'm talking about the continuous putting down and berating of yourself. Where something might happen, or in your, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or whatever it is, and you're the first person to bring yourself down. What is that about? Where do we get this from? You're the first person to be like, I was so stupid, I was dumb. Why are we speaking to ourselves like this? And having a better self-image in your relationship with yourself is so important. As I said before, it determines our relationship with other people. Okay, it teaches other people how to treat us. So let's go to other people. What does a better self-image mean for your relationships with your family, with your friends, and ultimately with your spouse? It means that you can be your true, authentic self. When you have a better self-image, you understand who you are. When you have a better self-image, you understand what you like, what you don't like, what you tolerate, what you won't tolerate. It helps you to be authentically you. It helps you to be a true person. And I'm gonna say this again. When we talk about image, we're looking at it from two different aspects: the image that we hold up to other people and the image that we hold up to ourselves. And what we need to do is we need to get to a point where those two are the same image. They're the same image. So I think Charmin made this in her introduction. We can't be, not that we can't be, we can be because we do it. But it is we are operating out of integrity and we are operating out of authenticity when we are one way with our spouse and a different way with our friends. I'm gonna give you guys real examples, because testimonies and real examples are what brings change. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, so this coaching academy I'm talking about is House of Her, and we had our celebration. And some of you would have seen a picture that I share. I rarely share pictures because I really dress up. So when you see me share a picture, I dressed up that weekend, okay? But I dressed up and I had my makeup was on point. I had my hair done up. I did all of it myself, but I was looking nice. It was an all-white party. I felt really glamorous. I felt great. My bump was showing. That whole pregnancy glow thing went on. And I felt really good about it and stuff. And as I was getting ready to leave, one of my friends was picking me up. And I went to my husband, I was like, look, how do I look or whatever, do I look okay? Does this match with that, whatever, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, you look good. And he said something to me that really touched me, and it had me thinking all night. He said, yeah, you look really, really good. You look very, very pretty. I wish we would see it more often. No, this is not to say that he doesn't think I'm pretty without the makeup, without the glam, without the whatever. But it was the excitement, it was the readiness, and it was the willingness to want to take care of myself that he does not see often enough. But when we're going up with our girlfriends, then we know how to get it together. But with our spouses, we don't. Who is your true self? Is your true self dials up and whatever it is, or is your true self, you know what, I just like being comfortable, I'm not into makeup, I'm not into dresses? What is your true self? Because I can guarantee you're dressing for your friends and you're looking good for your friends, but we're not looking good for our spouses. Again, what's that about? So we're not being our true authentic self within our relationships. And having a better self-image means that we can be our true self within our marriage and within our friends. Who I am, who I was at that party, should be the same person that's with my husband. It should be the same person. And so what that means now is a better self-image then means that I can love more authentically. My love for myself and for those around me more authentic. Pardon me. And I think this is where in marriages there's a bit of I don't know what you call it. There's some craziness going on. It's because we're not authentic, man. We're not authentic. We're not being our true selves. And we're not being our true selves because how we see ourselves is not authentic. Okay. Again, we're holding up an image to our husbands, to our wives, and we're holding up an image to ourselves. We're holding up an image to the world. And let me even say this, we're holding up a completely different image to God. And that's a whole other subject on its own. Right? So we have all these images that we're portraying everywhere. And we have split personality. Yes, I don't know. We're being different. And we have to converge all of these things and be ourselves truly, fully, authentically. And having that better self-image improves our relationship, as I said, with ourselves, with our family and friends, with our spouse, and with God. And I want to touch on this very quickly on this image that we have with God, our self-image, and how we portray ourselves with God, because it's so important. And then I want to touch on an example with our the relationship with our husband. But with God, very quickly, what I want to say is, when I was preparing to talk this thing, I realized something about how I was for a very long time. I mean, years. I've been a Christian since I was 11. I'm now 33. You do the math. 22 years. So I've been a Christian for a very long time. And for so many years, my relationship with God was, if I messed up, it was this whole groveling, sackcloth and ashes. Oh God, I'm sorry. Oh. And then I had this thing where I had to wait a period between my sin and going to God, because I just wasn't clean enough. And it was so ridiculously religious. Right? It was so ridiculously it was just a weird way of doing things. And even though deep down I knew that was not the God that I serve, the God that I serve says that I can boldly come before the throne of grace. You know, the God that I serve says that even before, even before, everything that I've done, He died for my sin. I have forgiveness. Forgiveness is mine. So, but let's look at how I viewed myself. What was my self-image at the time? My self-image of the time was that I was not worth it. I was not worth it, and I had to beg for stuff. And so that was how I went before God. Like, I wasn't worth it, and like I had to beg for stuff. And that's what I said, it even affects our relationship with God. When we look at our relationship with our spouses and being, one of the things that Kevin and I realized a couple of years ago, we were going through some stuff and talking through some stuff, and we just got really deep. We got really deep, and we sat down and really talked about what was going on for us. And at the crux of all the arguing and all the frustration or whatever it is, at the crux of it, we were portraying what happened in previous relationships, and we were displaying what previous relationships did to us into our current marriage and into what was going on for us. So we were operating from a sense of brokenness, hurt, and that's how we were operating in that. One day I hope to share our full testimony of how we came together and all the rest of it, because I believe it will bless someone, and we won't go through all of that today, but one day I hope to share that testimony. But what we realized is that stuff happened with him, and he had this particular self-image, and stuff happened and I have this particular self-image. And as I said in the beginning, we come in together whole, our baggage and all, and then we treated each other based on that self-image. We reacted with each other. We answered back each other based on the image that we had of ourselves and of the other person. So the image that I had of myself taught him how to treat me, and the image that he had of himself taught me how to treat him. And so we weren't being authentic within our relationship. And we had to realize that. And when we realized that, it was like, we're portraying, we are taking from what happened there and we're bringing it in here. And we had to learn to strip all that away and be completely naked before in more ways than one. Anyways, ignore me. Yeah, so that is what having a better self-image means for our relationship. It means that we can be our true selves and we can live more authentically. We can have so much more fulfilling relationships when we have a better self-image. So we've talked about why self-image is so important, and I hope everyone got that. We talked about why self-image is so important, and we talked about what self-image means for our relationships. So now I want to talk about how do we develop better self-image. So it's all well and good for us to talk about it's important, what it is, why we need to have it, but if you're at a point where it's like, well, the image of myself that I have of myself is so completely negative, or if you're at a space where you're thinking, it's not really negative, but I need some help to push wherever you are in your journey of self-image, wherever you are in that. I want to share with you guys some tips, some things that I have done, some things that I am doing currently as well to help develop a better self-image. Okay. The first thing I want us to know, how do I develop better self-image? Number one is probably the most important thing, is you need to know who you are and whose you are. You have to know who you are. I mentioned in my little introduction all the things that I do, and we get this question confused a lot when we say who are you? We list off all the things that we do and that we've done. Okay, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a worker, I'm a this, I'm a that. But I know there's a lot of women on it, and I know there might be some husbands listening. So I'm gonna address this to the women. Obviously, if you're a man, change it to man. But being a woman, knowing who you are, the first thing that I am is a woman, right? A woman created by God. And I want us to understand that power on its own. Without a spouse, without children, without your job, you are a woman. Okay? I am doing something at the moment. I'm expecting, I'm 20 weeks pregnant. And I am doing something that, I mean, when we try to understand the whole concept of pregnancy and how this whole human being, I look at my children now, my two girls, they're 6 and 5. And look how tall these girls are getting. And I just like, but you came out of like, how? It's the ability that we have as women is incredible. And I don't just mean physical. God has created us to be so much, to be that helpmeet. God has created us to be partners in partnership with our spouse. And the power that alone brings is so important for us to know in our relationship, knowing who you are in your relationship. If you want to develop a better self, you have to know who you are and know your position within your relationship, because there is power in it. I know when Charmin first started my own husband, a very big topic on there was submission. And I feel like it's a topic that some people either they're not too sure they want to talk about, because it's for some reason it has a negative connotation. There's power in it. There's absolute power in it. Okay. And it's understanding that. I'm sure if you go through the My Own Husband page, you can see all the stuff that Charmin has posted and shared on submission. But it's understanding who we are, okay, knowing who you are, and like I said, knowing whose you are. Okay. Now this is a Christian platform. I am a Christian. So when I talk about knowing whose you are, it's knowing that you are created, or you were created by the creator of creators. Okay. You are special. to God. You are special to His plan for life and this life and for his purpose for this world. You are special, and you are an integral part of your society. You were created for such a time as this. And these are things that I know it's not just stuff that we hear on a pulpit on a Sunday morning. These are things that we have to really know about ourselves and know who we belong to. This will really help us to develop our self-image. Okay. Leading on from that, leading on from knowing who you are and whose you are, is practicing self-love. Now we talked a bit about the makeup and the hair and all the rest of it. I was never really one for weaves and wigs and stuff. Not because I don't think they're pretty. I think they're great. They look really nice. I just didn't like it on my head. But whatever it is you do to look nice, whatever it is. First of all, let me just say this. Please don't depend on the weaves and the makeup and your clothes to determine whether you look nice or not. In the same way that we need to be ourselves in front of our spouses and in front of people and all the rest of it, you should be able to get to this place where you look at yourself with the glam on and with the glam off and still love yourself as much. We have to get to that space. I was at a point where if I didn't wear jewelry, because I used to wear a lot of jewelry. I used to wear a lot of jewelry, earrings, and I have my ears pierced and necklace. Like this, I'm wearing nothing right now, earrings and a ring. But I was at a because I'm comfortable with it now. But I was at a time where if I didn't have jewelry and I didn't have my eyeliner, I was ugly. I was just like, ugh. Couldn't look at myself in the mirror. And I had to, in order to leave the house, I had to have especially earrings and my eyeliner. And it's important for us to get to a place of self-love where whether I'm wearing makeup or not, whether I'm wearing a nice clothes, and whether I'm in my slacks or I'm in a nice tight dress, to love myself just the same. Okay, so that's really important. However, with that being said, practicing self-love, have a strong self-love routine. Self-care is important. Have a strong self-love routine. Again, this was something that really, I will really understand this. It's, what's your self-love routine like? Do you have a self-love routine? Do you have a self-care routine? And I don't mean that you go to the salon. Now we're in quarantine right now. Most people are staying at home at the moment. Our situation here in particular in my household is that we're basically self-isolating because I'm part of a high-risk category, being pregnant. They've put pregnant women in the high-risk category. So it's not just about social distancing for me. It's self-isolating as much as possible. If it was up to my doctor, I would self-isolate until the baby. This is what they said to me. So our situation's a bit different. So now that places are closed down, you can't get to the salon, you can't get to your makeup artist, you can't get to the shop to buy clothes. What is your self-care routine like? Are you giving yourself facials? Are you taking time out for yourself? Are you taking time out to meditate? Are you taking time out to relax? Or are you just on the go all the time? I gotta do something. It's very important, if you want to develop a self-image, is to develop a self-care routine. Okay, develop a strong self-care routine where you're taking some time out for yourself. And listen, it can be difficult. You guys have heard of all the things that I do. I also have 2 children. Both of them have have additional needs. This is autistic. My youngest has Down syndrome. And so finding time for myself can be challenging at times, but you have to be intentional about your self-care routine. It is very important. Okay, you cannot operate from an empty tank. So that's very, very important. Another way of practicing self-love is learn to say no. Learn to say no. And what I mean by learn to say no, and again, when we talk about developing better self-image and doing all these things, because of the platform that we're on, and because of where we are, my own husband, look at how it will help your relationship as well. If you have better self-care, you're taking care of yourself, you're your best self to your spouse. We need to, stop giving our spouses second best. We really have to stop doing that. And some of us are not even giving our spouses second best. We're giving third and fourth and fifth best because everyone else comes first. Our friends, and then our mother, and then our children, and so by the time we get to our husband, he's somewhere down the line. We have to learn to give our best self to ourselves and to our husband in terms of, the way you look. Make sure you look nice, smell nice, you bathe, you brush your teeth. I'm just saying these things are important. We don't think it's important. You know, I had this thing where it's so funny. I had this thing where if if people are coming over, I rush in to make sure everything is clean. Or why am I not doing that for my family? Is my family not worth having a tidy home? Is my husband not worth having a wife that her breath smells nice? I'm just messing with you guys. But you know what I mean. You get the gist of what I'm. Okay. We have to look at it that way. So better self-care helps with that. Learning to say no, that's very important for your relationship as well. Are you busy saying yes to everyone else but saying no to your husband, when really it should probably be the other way around? I'm not saying yes to your husband for every single thing. Let's not take things out of context. But when I say learning to say no, you know, one of the things that Charmaine said to me, and I really admire you, Charmaine, for saying this to me, when she came to me about the suggestion of doing talk, I said, "Oh, it sounds great. I need to check or whatever." And she said to me, "Yes, check with your husband and talk it through with your husband and stuff, and let me know." Right? Now, this is not about asking for permission, or it's not about, "Oh, I can't do stuff without his say so." It's not about that. It is about respecting the person that you have said yes to in marriage, that you've given your hand to in marriage, respecting them enough for them to know what's going on. And then two, you can talk about it, babe, do you think that this is something, I should do? And talk things through, being willing to do that before. But a lot of us, I know because I've done it. And the fact that I've done it means I'm not the only one that's done it. A lot of us, people come to us with ideas and we say yes straight away without considering the person that we live with. That's not on. It's not on. Again, it's not about asking for permission, but it's considering them. Also, who knows? He may be able to share some insight that I can share with you guys, and whatever it is. There's all these things for us to think about. So learning to say no. How do I develop better self-image? Another thing is putting yourself first. You have to put yourself first. This is not about being selfish, but it's about being self-full. As I said before, you cannot serve from an empty cup. And so putting yourself first is important. I know what it's like to be an exhausted mom and an exhausted wife. And I think I can speak for my children and my husband when I say exhausted mommy and an exhausted babe is not a nice person. So, put yourself first, going back to the self-care, make sure you get some rest, make sure this seems like very simple things, but I'm telling you, these are things that we need to do to develop a better self-image, because you start to understand that you are important. You start to understand that, you are worth all this stuff. And again, as I said, having a poor self-image often translates into destructive tendencies. And the things that we don't see as destructive tendencies, lack of sleep, not putting yourself first, not taking care of yourself, not eating right, these are all destructive tendencies. Okay? And we have to recognize where our destructive tendencies are. One other thing, and there's many other things, this is the last thing I'm going to mention with this point, is affirmations. Affirm yourself. I said earlier that I spent a lot of time speaking into the mirror, saying I was ugly, I was stupid, I was this, I was that, blah blah. And I also talked about how life has a way of honoring who we are and what we do. So if that can happen with negative stuff, what do you think can happen with positive affirmation? Because one of the things I want us to realize is that we are constantly, all the time, all the time affirming something, declaring something, speaking something. So we don't have a problem with, no one has to teach us how to affirm. No one has to teach us how to speak, how to declare, how to create. No one has to teach us that. Please don't get it twisted. You don't have to learn how to speak things into existence. We already know how to do it. We have to know what it is that we're speaking into existence. That's the important. That's what we have to change, is what we is. So how do you develop a better self-image? Speak those good things into existence over your life. I am beautiful, I am worth it, my spouse and I are in love, we have a happy home. Speak those things into your life, speak those things into your marriage, right? And take some time to really do that. Take some time to really um um see yourself in the way that God sees you. The Bible talks about whatever things are good, whatever things are lovely, whatever things of good report, think on these things. And you're going to speak what's in your mind. So we have to really think on those things. Last point. Sorry. The last point on how do I develop better self-image? Get rid, this is leading on from what I just said, get rid of self-hate tendencies and behaviors. Please, if you are struggling with any self-destructive tendencies or self-hate tendencies that are not good for your health, disclaimer, as Charmin said here, we are not professionals, we're not qualified in that way. Please seek help, honestly. This is not something to be taken lightly. But if you are displaying self-hate tendencies and behaviors, harming yourself, um, uh, um, what do you call it when you eat? So if you're bulimic or anorexic, so you have a very poor relationship with food. Another way that self-hate it portrays is what's going on in your marriage. If you're experiencing any form of abuse or whatever it is, please seek out the help that you need. Because this is very important for me to say, seek out the help that you need, whether it's family, friends, your church, or a government hotline or whatever. I don't know what it is in St. Martin. But please seek out help. If you have very strong self-hate tendencies and you're dealing with some very strong mental health issues, you really need to seek help, okay? One of the things, as I said to you guys, with me, one of my self-hate tendencies and behaviors, apart from my eating, was I harmed myself. I was self-harming. I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know this about me. But I went through a stage of self-harming. I would hit myself and different things and whatever. Again, that's another story for another time. But I had to come to a point where I had help, and I went to my doctor, and he referred me to a counselor. I was diagnosed with anxiety and mild depression, and I went through all of that. And we give God thanks and praise that that's not where I am right now anymore. But I had to get the help. So if you are dealing with particularly strong self-hate tendencies and behaviors, please seek help. Now, I just wanted to say that. Now, if what I mean by self-hate tendencies and behaviors, it's the things that I mentioned this earlier, the things that we say to ourselves, how we speak to ourselves, what we're thinking in our minds, how we take care of ourselves, how we have to get rid of all those things that are not honoring who we are, and that are a result of a poor self-image. Get rid of those. When you get rid of them, replace them with healthy tendencies and behaviors. Okay, as I said in the beginning, don't overcompensate. You don't have to be extra with it or whatever it is. The whole point here is to be authentically yourself. And the only way that you can be authentically yourself is to have an authentic self-image, is to have a better self-image. Again, bringing it back to topic as I conclude, bringing it back to what this whole thing is about. If we can display a better self-image, it really helps with our relationship with our spouse. Okay, it really helps us with our relationship. It really helps us to be our authentic self with our spouse. It helps us to love our spouse. um, in a more integrous way. And so your self-image, how you see yourself, is so, so important. And if this is something that you can start working on before you get married, great. If you're already married and you're recognizing stuff and there's some things that resonate and you think I need to get working on that, that's fine too. But wherever you are in your journey, in your romantic life, you might be dating, fiance, single, in a situationship, married, wherever you are, at your self-image. Have a look at how you see yourself. What is the picture that you're displaying to your spouse, to others, to God? And what is the picture that you are displaying to yourself? If they are different, then there's some work that needs to be done on your self-image. All right. So that's me done. That's me done here. Let me pull this thing up here. That's me done. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Yes, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I give you praise. Yes, so thank you guys so much for joining me on here. Thank you, Zoya. Hey, Brother Jerry, good to see you. Sister Nazarene. Um, yes. I don't know why I can't see all the other comments. So I hope if there's any questions, the floor is now open to any questions. If you want to type any questions in here, if you have any questions for me, please let me know. Let me know. I am more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Mandy, my sister-in-law. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Sister Bennett, how cool. Thank you. Kathleen, thank you guys. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, man. Thank you guys for being on here and for taking the time out to listen to me. I really appreciate it. Thanks, mommy. My mom said I was great. Thank you, mom. Do we have any questions? Yes, transparency. Transparency is very important. Transparency is very important. I used to be afraid to be transparent, but there's no point in being afraid. It's necessary. Okay. So if you don't have any questions, unless any comes up now, if you don't have any questions, Charmaine, should I pass it back over to you?
Well,
Thank you all. Thank you.
can you hear me first of all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I
I
can.
I just want to tell you, Francesca, that this was mind blowing. You caused us. I'm getting a little feedback. Let me see. Okay, so you caused us to reflect on so many things, some things that we probably didn't even recognize until now.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and I just hope that everybody was in from the start because then it helps them to understand exactly from the start how you broke it down from the definition and also wrapping it around our self-image where God is concerned, how we see ourselves as he sees us, and then you
right.
came straight down and brought it and tied it in so beautifully where husband and wife relationship is concerned. I have a
Mm,
few questions,
okay.
and I love that you touched on. I'm still getting a feedback. I don't know if I should turn on something here. But I just love the way you tied in the different points. But most importantly for me,
Oh,
it
I can't
was
hear you.
okay.
There we go. Yeah. Speak
Yeah?
again. Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. Point six, when you spoke about affirmations, there were, as you were speaking, even before you touched that point, like there were a series of affirmations based on the word of God that I just couldn't get out of my mind. Because for me, it clearly starts there. What
Yeah.
do you believe about
Yeah.
yourself that the Creator first saw in you, even before you knew anything about who you are, or even before you were a thought, before you
Mm-hmm.
were conceived? He
Mm-hmm.
has a
Mm-hmm.
perfect plan, not just a
That's it.
plan, an image, a finished picture, as you mentioned. a picture, um, and I need to come in alignment with that first as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
truths that the word of God talks about is, us being strong, us being courageous, us being blessed, when we trust in him, us have not having anything to be afraid of,
Mm-hmm.
being fearfully and wonderfully made. Sometimes
That's
we
it.
just
Yeah.
quote these things out of, because that's the best thing to say, or maybe it's so cliche to us that we almost like, excuse ourselves out of believing that it's not really for me. It's maybe for somebody else, but not for me, because I just happen
Right.
to
Right.
be born in the wrong family, or I'm just doomed, or there's nothing in it for me. But I want to reaffirm us, and I want to emphasize that we are indeed loved by God
That's
first.
it. Yes.
He knew exactly what he was doing and the perfect picture that he wanted on earth as he created us to be. Now,
That's it.
that
Yeah.
perfection has nothing to do with you having no flaws, or anything like that. This is about, despite my flaws, despite the fact that, okay, I'm not a size 6 or size 8 as I used to be, that there's something greater inside of me that he wants the world to experience, but he needs me to see it first, and he needs me to accept it, and he needs me to function in that.
Right.
So I want to thank you for that point, most importantly, because, the truth that we believe and the truth that we accept from the Creator first, is way
And
beyond even what somebody else helps us to understand about ourselves.
exactly. And one of the things I want to based on that image that you said that God has of us, that picture that God has of us,
Yep.
I need us to understand that even though
Yep.
in all your mess, in all my mess, even
Mhm.
though that
Mhm.
is how God sees me.
Yep.
We
Yep.
have to understand this. This is a deep point here.
Yep. Yep.
Even with wherever you are, that perfected image and how God sees is how he sees you even now.
Yep.
And I think that will really help for us, and that's a good point. Would help us to build our self images, understanding that.
Yeah. Yep. So
Oh
I
my goodness.
I don't know if there are any questions in the chat, but can I ask my questions, because I don't see any questions
Go
yet?
on. I don't think there's any questions. No.
Yeah, I see a lot of people saying good job, good job. Your mom is saying daddy loves you.
I know.
I
I
love
saw my
this.
bestie, Dr. Carter, is on.
Yes, Dr. Carter is
Very excited.
on. Hey, Audra. I see Audra's keeping the chat alive. I
I
hope she
know.
rests herself up for when she comes on Sunday night.
Right, right, right.
But okay. So after the wives come off of this live, because we all feel good now, we're on the live, everybody's talking what we want to hear. Francesca's motivating me. Better Wives
Mm-hmm.
weekend kicked off really good. Okay, now husbands are probably either asleep or waiting for us to come off of this live. I don't know.
Yeah.
But real conversations need to be had, right?
Yes.
A wife that's listening to you right now and she is struggling with self image still, she heard you. She wants to make this right. But she cannot change the fact that, okay, I'm already here. I'm married now. So I'm not divorcing. It's not that she can't. She's not doing it. That's not what she wants to do, because her
Mm-hmm.
issues where self-image is concerned has caused a great mess already, whether in her marriage or friendships, relationships. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say? How can she begin to have conversation with her husband from tonight? Like if he's asleep and she needs to wake him up, what should the conversation sound like, or what direction should it go, as an initiative to begin the communication and the healing process together?
Right. So, I mean, it's 1:30 here. I probably won't wake up my husband. He's asleep. I probably wouldn't wake him up. But I mean, what I would say is, first of all, discernment. Listen to yourself as to when is the right time to have this conversation, but have it soon.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have this conversation with your spouse. And I think it's important for us to be transparent. Just today, Kevin and I were talking about communication and the importance of communicating our needs and wants to each other. And I think one of the things is, especially if a lot of marriages that I know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and that's a different thing. But if you know you're married to someone that you might have your ups and downs, your little issues, but ultimately you love each other and you're there for each other. It's very important for you to have that conversation with your husband and with your spouse, to say, listen, this is where I am, and the reason why I've not been able to be fully myself is because
Mm-hmm.
actually I don't see myself, in this way. I don't see myself as whatever, and involve your husband in that, your transformation, in your change. The first step is you have to be willing to be open. I think Audra mentioned transparency. You have to be willing to be transparent, with your spouse. So I think one of the first people that I ever told about, self-harming or whatever, it was my spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've only been married 7 years. As I said, I'm 33. So the first person I told about this was my spouse. So you have to be willing to be transparent and just get the conversation started. Listen, sometimes, and I have the tendency of doing this, of where I'm trying to think of how the conversation is going to go.
Okay.
Let's not do that.
Mm.
You
Mm.
cannot predict how someone feels. You can't predict what they're going to say. You can't predict, as much as you think you know the person. If you go to Darren with something, you can't always predict what Darren is going to say. If I go to
Yeah.
Kevin with something, I can't predict what Kevin is going to say. It's based on so many things, right? And we're constantly learning stuff. So he might have learned something 2 days ago that if I'd gone to him 3 days ago, he wouldn't have known. And then he's learned something, and then I could go to him, and do you know what I mean? Like, there's stuff happening all the time, so we cannot predict. But what I would say is just have the conversation. Listen, I went to this event, to this seminar, this online thing, and this was the topic, and I realized that this is where I am. I want us to have a conversation about it, please. And you have the conversation, be open and transparent about it. I have had to have this open conversation with my husband, and it seems daunting at first, but the response that you get when you're just when you're just enveloped in love
Yeah.
is a great starting point. So you just really need to just have a go at it. Just have a go at it.
And speaking about responses, like, okay, we are all transparent, and that's the culture of my own husband. A non-judgmental zone, and also transparency is in full effect. Um, there may be some wives, because I know I am that type of wife, where uh, depending on your first response to me, it either can cause me to open up more or shut down. My husband sometimes likes to make a lot of jokes, when we're home and stuff like that. And if I say to him, what, babe, I don't really like myself so much, he'll be like, what? You? Shh, not you, you know?
Mm,
And he may not mean it, to shut me down, but it's like he himself can't believe that that's something that I'm struggling with, maybe because of
mm,
whatever reason. Um, how would we, how do we adjust to that? Because we need husbands to know that we are serious about this conversation. One of
mm-hmm.
the tips that I would suggest is sometimes even a change of environment. Um, being intentional. I think I saw that in a chat, Zoya, or somebody said it, where you can, probably go to another venue, something a little more, different, like maybe, I don't know, a walk on the beach somewhere, and you can intentionally make the decision to say, you know what, we need to have a very serious conversation, and let's have a meeting
Yeah,
on this.
yeah,
Sometimes just being random about it, especially if he's tired, even you're tired, or there are
yeah,
things
yeah,
that get in the
yeah.
way. We should be more intentional even about having these conversations and having the right
Definitely,
setting that we can really,
definitely.
you know, divide the issue, talk about it, spread it out, you know,
Yeah,
without any limitations per se.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
if that's a weekend away just to talk about this, but we really need
Yeah,
the time to
yeah,
really
yeah,
expound on it a little.
yeah.
So I
No,
don't know if
definitely
you have
agree with you
other
100%.
suggestions where that is concerned.
Yeah, 100% agree with you with that. I think one of the things that that most women can identify with is, I'm not saying all women,
Mm-hmm.
but this is something that my husband doesn't like, is this whole just random conversations.
Mm.
So I just jump on me, hey, Kev, this so and so. He's like,
What?
wait, I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's intentional about it. I agree 100%. We managed last year. My mom was here, and she was looking after the girls, and we went away together to Tenerife. It was lovely, and we took the opportunity to really speak about some stuff that we were dealing with in our marriage, but we needed that time away from home, away
Mm-hmm.
from the environment, because it's a representation of taking yourself out
Yeah.
and really seeing it from the outside, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. So I agree with you there. I think another thing that came up for me when you said that was we really need to stop um having expectations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's
Our
a number.
husbands or
That's a
people,
real killer.
we have to stop. We really do have to
Yeah.
stop. We really have to, because sometimes we have these expectations. I know sometimes I have this expectation of my husband. I'm gonna go and tell him something while he's playing on his PlayStation, and I
Mm-hmm.
know, or he's watching football, and I know full and well he's not gonna hear what I gotta say.
Mm-hmm. And then you're
But I
gonna
do it.
pull the card out. You don't listen to me. I talk, you
Yes,
don't listen to me.
exactly. And sometimes, let me just be real and honest. Sometimes I do it then just so I can tell him he don't listen to me, because I don't
Mm-hmm.
vex with him for something already.
It's just an outlet to let it out. Okay, I feel good.
Exactly.
I
True,
let it
true,
out a little.
true.
So now he has
Exactly.
to figure it out and come back to me and let me know when he's ready for us to actually talk about it. So it
Right.
takes the burden off of me to actually go deeper with it.
This is it. The thing is, sometimes I know I could call my mom and just have the most random conversations. Hey, mom, guess what? Blah, 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 blah. Whether she busy or she ain't busy or whatever. But you know what? Sometimes it's not the same with our spouses, and we have
No.
this tendency to treat our spouse as our friends. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that we cannot be friends with our spouses.
Yes,
That's not what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, Kevin is my best friend,
yeah.
right? And I'm sure a lot of us can say that about our husbands, that they're our
Mm-hmm.
best friends or whatever it is. But we really have to stop. Your husband is not your girlfriend,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
stop expecting the same
Somebody
response.
needs to put that in a chat. Your husband is not your girlfriend.
Your husband is not your girlfriend. Stop expecting. I would get upset with Kev if I say something to him and his response isn't soft and nice and, oh girl, I
Mm-hmm.
understand. I know, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Da, da, da. And I upset that he gives me a solution.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
what, as you are talking about the image, you might go and say, babe, I don't really love it. Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Because what they can see is they're looking at you of I love you. You're beautiful. What are
Mm-hmm.
you talking about?
Yeah.
And we have to understand that. Zoya's asking, how do we manage expectations?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if you're gonna agree with me. One of the things that I have learned is
To have none?
to have none. I don't have expectations of people. It is unfair. This is my personal point of view, and this is probably something that is debatable.
Mm-hmm.
But it's to an extent. To an extent, I expect my husband to love me. I expect my husband to protect me, to
Yeah.
provide for me. Those basic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't have expectations of my husband or of people, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we are human.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You have high expectations of yourself. That. And, oh, thank you so much for saying that. Let me hold on. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
high achiever, especially when it comes to personal growth. So I tend to expect the same. Okay, yes, I'm so glad, Zoya, that you said that, because I'll explain to you something. A lot of the times,
Mm-hmm.
oh, how do I say this? A lot of the times, we operate with people based on what's going on in here.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I said I have no expectations, right? If I say something to you, Charmaine, get upset with me or whatever it is, and you, oh my gosh, how could she say that? That literally have nothing to do with me.
Mm-hmm.
There's something going on with you.
Yeah.
And so, as you rightfully said, you might have high expectations of yourself, and so you expect that of other people. A big thing that I've learned to do in my marriage is understand that Kevin and I are different, and I cannot have the same. I cannot expect him to be me. I
Mm-hmm.
did not marry myself.
Yeah.
I married a whole other person that have his whole own background, that come from a whole different family.
Yeah.
And as much as both of our families are from the Caribbean, we have our own different cultures. It's different. Even two people from the same country, you grew up in different households. Your cultures are different.
Yeah.
So I cannot expect him to be like me, if and he cannot expect me to be like him.
Yep.
And what happens a lot of the times is you have clashes in your marriage. There's this expectation to be like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
our expectations are only based on ourselves, really. It's only based on ourselves.
you see that topic there of expectations? We might have to do a webinar just for that because that is
Thing.
also one of the main destructions or destructive factors in marriage.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's not so much about having expectations because I see people that have expectations and they're just perfectly fine. I expect that you wash
Yeah,
dishes
yeah.
and the husband washes the dishes. I expect that you cook and the wife does cook. They're
Mm-hmm.
fine. If she doesn't cook, he
Mm-hmm.
has a problem. Like, what happened? I expected you to wash or I expected you to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's working for them. I'm not interfering with that. What I have a problem with is that nobody knows what your expectations are.
Right. Okay.
Like,
Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
want somebody to figure it out. You want the man to have a dream or the Lord to
My
impart
gosh.
all of those expectations that you've had since you were a little girl, your Cinderella expectation. And then when you hear the expectations, they themselves, we ourselves, not just they, we women, I'm talking about us, we ourselves are so ashamed or maybe so embarrassed to even voice them out because they are like, we ourselves can't even meet them.
Right.
So somebody has to bring it together and say, okay, there are expectations and then there are some. We gotta balance things out a little and we gotta
Yeah.
figure out where we're at. I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. I've been telling Darren that since 2014. But my God, it hasn't happened yet. What am I gonna do? Judge my husband based on that? Judge myself based on that? That is something that I wanted to have when I have my son or whatever, just stay home
Mm-hmm.
and work from home or whatever. But that didn't happen. But my husband needed to hear that, and
No,
then
of
we can
course. That's very
say,
important.
can we
Yeah.
work towards that? Can we put a time frame to that? And then, or sometimes you voice it, and then the other day he turned to me and said, "You didn't want to be a housewife again?" And I was like, "Why not me? But I need to get my own money."
I think you're absolutely right. Come back to the question you asked about how do we address our husband with the whole topic of self-image.
Mm-hmm.
Is creating is You're absolutely right with expectations. It's creating that expectation. So like you prepare him. So it's
Yeah.
like, listen, I want to have this conversation. I want to have a very serious conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And start off a time when you guys can have that, because that's creating an expectation as well. So
Right.
he knows not to just be all lax about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, we need to wrap up because
Yes.
9:45 was our, yeah.
Cut
But
off.
listen, like over 40 something persons stayed on, so that tells me that,
Thank you all so
listen,
much.
you've been awesome, Francesca.
Oh, bless you.
And I just want to let you have the last floor, whatever you have to say, have a last word. I don't know if anybody else, I think Sylvia Vanterpool said, been saying that forever, 35 years, Charmaine. Well,
I think she's talking about the
we
thing.
gotta keep saying that. We gotta keep spreading this message, and we're not going to stop. I already said this in the previous live and even in previous communication with the page, is that we are not here for the likes. We are not here to become popular. We are not into that kind of stuff. Too many marriages are failing. Too many women are left undone. Too many women have questions. Nobody's addressing the issues. We have churches and stuff. We have beautiful ministries in our churches and stuff like that. But if we are not hitting the nail on the head where certain things are concerned. We're going to have people walking away from marriage or condemning it or spreading bad stains, rumors about it. We don't want that anymore. And most
Yeah.
importantly, we want to see people live their best married life, for crying out
Yes.
loud. I mean, you said yes to it. it
Oh,
that just we need to get better. We need to feel better about the decision that we made.
yeah.
We said yes to God. We said yes before witnesses. Nobody forced us. Nobody put a gun. Nobody forced me for sure. I was ready. I was like, I need to get married to this man. I love this man. I want to marry him today. And June 7th is when we did it. June 6th, June 7th. And I never regretted it. But at the same time, I'm not going to live a miserable married life. I need to
Yes.
become better. And you helped me as well to reflect on certain things that I was like, that's a good point. I need to go and look that up a little and talk to my
Mm-hmm.
husband a little more on that as well. And I'm sure that
Sure.
even if we have somebody else come on and talk about this same topic, that they are going to open us up to another perspective on this as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
are some excuses? Just give me one or two that we can anticipate that would pop up that would cause us to withdraw from actually making that step to our healing.
The first excuse that came to mind is I don't need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
um, just thinking that, that you're I think another excuse is a lot of the times when it comes to self-image, I guess, is the interesting thing about it for a lot of us and for a very long time people don't know.
Mm,
And it's I can carry on the facade,
yeah.
thinking that you can carry on the facade. I think that's what, at least what I did for a very long time,
Yeah.
is I thought to myself, I can keep pretending long enough.
So basically, lying to ourselves.
Lying to yourself.
That might be the
Yeah.
first thing that just consumes you right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this. It was a good topic, Charmaine. It was good, Francesca, but I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I want to say in your marriage,
Mm-hmm.
with this topic and with all the other topics that are going to be said here tonight, not tonight, in the coming nights, when you hear something, please look at what it means for you and not what it means for your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
As in, take personal responsibility. I think that's probably the last thing that I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
is take personal responsibility for what's going on in your marriage,
Mm-hmm.
and take personal responsibility for where you are as a wife.
Wow.
That's a hard thing to I've been taking personal responsibility, working on that for the last year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
very strongly. And it's not easy to do. It's a lot easier to point the finger. It's a
Mm.
lot easier to do that. My husband don't do this and he don't do that, do this, and it's very, oh, my wife don't do this, my wife don't. It's so easy to do that.
Yeah.
What is your contribution?
Yeah. I cannot end this live without addressing or asking you to give your comment on this. How do we balance um and I promise you after this one that's it. How do we balance having a positive self-image and not having it go too high to the point where we think we are actually higher than our husbands?
Hmm.
How do we balance that? Because you need to carry your own. You need to carry your
Yeah.
own weight. You need to be positive about yourself. We need all of that.
Yeah.
But it can easily tilt over. And that's the thing with submission that people don't get. It's like, let's say you're free, it's not that you're bound. I don't have to ask Darren permission to go outside. But some of us, we go a little too much to the left. So it's like, I don't have to tell you I gone down by the shop. I mean, if something happened, I will let you
Mhm.
know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So how do
Yeah.
we curb that? That you are positive about who you are and what you look like and how you feel, but to keep that still within the safety of marriage.
Um, what I to answer that question, I will say is I want us to consider something. I want us to consider that if we are tilting on either side,
Mm.
that we don't have a
Okay.
good self-image.
Mm.
Just consider that if you are, and I think sometimes with a lot of things, I think there's this whole big philosophical debate that needs to happen to understand if we are being a certain,
Yeah.
you know, when you're being extra, when you're not being enough,
Yeah.
and if we implement the stuff that I spoke about, and do your own research on how you do that, study, whether it's studying the Bible, do your own research on how you can better your self-image along with what we spoke about tonight. um I would say is that this, if you are tilting on either side,
Mm-hmm.
then your self-image is not intact.
Wow. Better Wise Weekend. It's been real. It's been great. I couldn't have asked for anything better than this. This fits perfectly in the vision and the image of what I expected.
Awesome.
Yes. But I mean, Francesca, you did an awesome job. We definitely have to have you
Thank you.
come back again, maybe for something else or even a continuation of this. But we
Sure.
definitely need to have this again. And I want to thank everybody for being here. The numbers
Thank you
are
all.
were just remarkable, and you guys stayed until the very end. The questions, we didn't get so many questions, but please feel free to send us questions in the inbox or email us. Contact me on Facebook. You know how to reach us. Just go right ahead. But most importantly, as well, share this because we need to get this out there, right? So before we go, I just want to bless you all, bless you, Francesca, and declare some things over us as women, as wives, that before we even loved ourselves, we were loved by God, and we are still fearfully and wonderfully made, and there
Amen.
is nothing, no good thing that he would withhold from us, and that is to
Amen.
experience our best life. Our greatest potential is activated right now in Jesus name, and I release us tonight to have a good night and to begin to walk in our purpose fully, by beginning to accept the healing that He wants to provide us in the area of self image and self love. I bless you all and I thank you all for being here tonight. And thank you, Facebook, for the love. Thank you for the support. And be here again tomorrow night, 8 o'clock sharp. Charity is going to be here and she's going to be talking about better friend. I mean, y'all want to know how to become a better friend? Y'all better be here. It's going to be great. Thank you and have a good night. Francesca, good night.
Bye.